The first thing you need to know about relative clauses is that they are accompanied by relative pronouns, okay? And these are the main relatives pronouns you can find: who, whose, which, that, where, and when, okay? We use one or the other depending on the word we have right before the pronoun, okay? That's very, very important. And sometimes the word after the pronoun will also be important. Now notice that these 5 sentences are incomplete, okay? Now I'm going to write the appropriate pronoun in each of them. A customer is a person who buy products. Okay, so we are using the pronoun who. The receipt is the piece of paper which you need in case of a refund. Number 3, we would say, I will always remember the year when I visited Australia. In number 4, we have a mall is a very big place where many people go shopping. And in number 5, we have the shop assistant is the person whose job it is to sell products. Now, what about the remaining word, that? Well, that can be used in many of the contexts where who and which are used, okay? So in number 1, I could also say a customer is a person that, okay, is a person that buys products. And in number 2, I can also say the receipt is the piece of paper that you need in case of a refund, okay? So that is in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases the same as which or who. And now this is a table where you can understand which relative pronoun we use according to the reference. The reference is always the word right before the relative pronoun, okay? So if the reference is a person and a customer, okay, in Spanish we would say un cliente, okay, is always a person, then we need to use who, okay? If, on the other hand, the reference is an animal or a thing, like in sentence number 2, then we need which, okay? Well, in both, as we said earlier, we can use that. Although, as we will see later, there are some restrictions, okay? If we are talking about possession, then we would use whose, like in number 5, okay? The shop assistant is the person whose job it is to sell products. Now, notice that whose in Spanish would be like cuyo or cuya, which we don't use very much in our current Spanish, okay? If, on the other hand, we're talking about a place and this place answers the question where, then we need to use where. A mall is a very big place where many people go shopping, okay? Where do many people go shopping? To a mall, okay? So there we need to use where, okay? And finally, if we are talking about a time, like year, month, a day, then we will need when. Now here we have more details about relative clauses and the pronouns, okay? Now many times the relative pronoun can be omitted when it's not the subject of the relative clause, okay? For example, we can say the girl who I saw yesterday was my ex-girlfriend, or we can also say the girl I saw yesterday was my ex-girlfriend. So why are we doing this? Because here I is the subject of this sentence, okay? So when the subject is present, we don't need the relative pronoun, okay? Although if we say who is totally correct, okay? And the same goes with the next sentence we have here, okay? The exercise which our teacher gave us are very difficult, or the exercises our teacher gave us are very difficult, okay? And we are doing that because our teacher is the subject of this sentence, okay? Then we have the so-called non-defining, okay? The main characteristic of non-defining relative clauses is that they are separated by commas, okay? And they give some dispensable, non-essential information. Now, one of the qualities of these non-defining sentences is that they don't admit that or any omission, okay? So everything we saw here, okay, doesn't apply here, okay? And we have two examples. Oscar Wilde, who lived a wonderful life, had a very tragic ending, okay? Now notice that who lived a wonderful life is not dispensable information. We can perfectly say Oscar Wilde had a very tragic ending, okay? And nothing changes, nothing essential changes, okay? We say who lived a wonderful life because we want to give some extra information, okay? Another very important sentence, or another very important example is this one, okay? This country, about which our teacher has told us a lot, sounds really interesting, okay? And normally, in non-defining sentences, if we have a preposition, the preposition always goes before the relative pronoun. Because in the rest of the sentences, in the defining relative sentences, prepositions usually go at the end, okay? Spain is the country where I come from, okay? Or pop is the music I generally listen to. Remember, prepositions usually go at the end of the sentence, except in non-defining sentences, in which they always come before the relative pronoun. Finally, I will give you a few tips for rephrasing application, okay? Generally, we will find two juxtaposed sentences. That is, first one sentence and then another. Generally, these sentences will be separated by full stop, okay? Notice the full stop here. Now, we must identify the two elements which are repeated in both sentences. In this case, a woman, okay, is referred to by the pronoun her here, okay? So, since we're talking about a person, the relative pronoun we should consider is who, okay? I met a woman who I didn't recognize the other day. Now, be careful and don't repeat her here, okay? Because who represents her. So we have to substitute her for who, okay? I met a woman who I didn't recognize the other day, okay? When we find a possessive in the second sentence, her, my, your, his, okay, we must remember to use whose, okay, because we are talking about possession, okay? The woman had a nervous breakdown. Her house was vandalized. So the woman whose house was vandalized had a nervous breakdown, okay? Now, be careful with the two commas in non-defining clauses, okay? Pablo Iglesias taught at Complutense University. He is the leader of Podemos, okay? Now here we are saying some dispensable information, okay? Pablo Iglesias, who is the leader of Podemos, taught at Complutense University, okay? Perfectly, we could say Pablo Iglesias taught at Complutense University, okay? Or, as we have here in number 4, that man is driving a car, he's my friend. That man who is driving a car is my friend.